Welcome to the Holiness Today podcast. On this episode, listen to a conversation between Jim Ritchie, Global Missions Director, and Dany Gomis, Regional Director of Africa.
Well, hello again, everybody. Jim here with another one of my conversations with the Global Missions Director. And today you'll see I have one of my dear friends and my brother and colleague, Dr. Dany Gomis, the Regional Director for Africa. Hi, Dany.
Hi, Jim.
Dany and I share a lot of passions. We love many things. We love music. We love to worship. We love seeing Jesus change people's lives. And neither of us came from what would be a traditional Nazarene background. We're not one of these fourth generation Nazarene leaders. And I love Dany's story and his testimony. So I thought it'd be great for us as we understand what a regional director is before we go to the role, as we understand the person. So Dany, brother, tell us, how did you come to know Jesus?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I'm thankful for just being able to say that I'm a child of God.
Amen.
And because my name is Daniel Abdul Karim. So in my name, you can see that I have different origins and influences. So I'm born in a mixed family, mixed in the terms of like religion. My father was Roman Catholic. My mother was Muslim. Even though later in life she came to Christ, but I was born in mixed family, mixed in many senses. So I didn't grow up in a Bible believing type of families, where you do devotionals, all of that. So at some point in my life, I think I was 19 when my father passed.
Right.
And that kind of shattered my life. I was like what they would call a nominal type of Christian. So I would just as a Roman Catholic and not really believing in those things. But when my father passed, then I became like an agnostic. I just couldn't believe in God, But in something in my life, in my mind, there was something there that I knew was reserved for God. So at the time when I went to the university in the northern part of my country, I'm from Senegal, and Senegal is a 92% majority Muslim country. And when I was going north, it was even like more, it was close to 99%. But I went in a public university studying English. And then one day, in fact, I started to doubt about the Christian major doctrinal beliefs, the sonship, the divine nature of Christ,
Right.
crucifixion, those things. And I kind of, decided to follow another route. So I decided to become a Muslim and my name, Daniel Abdul Karim, is the name of my grandfather from my mother's side. So I decided to become a Muslim. And when I was doing research, because I love to read, I was reading a lot about the Quran. And in the Quran, the Muslim book, one day I found a verse that kind of blown my mind. And it's like someone was like speaking to me directly. And now I understand God used that book to call me and to answer to my questions. And what happened when I stopped reading that book, I took the Bible. I had never really read the Bible. I was just knowing some parts. So I took the Bible, it was those Gideon Bibles, those blue ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the small ones. That's the one that I had, the New Testament.
Yeah.
So, and something just like was driving me to read about Jesus. And I said, I need to know more about this Jesus. Because when I was reading the Quran, I was reading about what it was saying about Jesus. And I saw that they mentioned so much about Jesus, more than even their own prophet. So I was saying, okay, I need to know more about this Jesus. And then I started to read the New Testament, the Gospels especially. And I read it just like I was part of it, like in a story. I was part of the story. I was like walking alongside Jesus. And I came to experience what he said in John 8:32. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Wow. And overnight, next day, I started to preach in the university. And my first convert was my roommate. And,
Oh,
and the rest is history. So that's how
what a history.
Jesus found me.
We'll be right back with the rest of this episode. But did you know you can receive credit for listening to Holiness Today podcasts? Holiness Today podcasts qualify for lifelong learning with the Church of the Nazarene. To register for lifelong learning, simply go to learning.nazarene.org. The Lifelong Learning Registry provides Nazarene ministers the opportunity to record and report their efforts to develop and maintain a pattern of lifelong learning. Every Nazarene minister is encouraged to engage in a variety of lifelong learning activities. The code for Holiness Today podcast will be listed in the show description. This code can be utilized for this episode and any previous episode you wish to listen to. Thank you for being a listener and sharing in the ministry of the Church of the Nazarene. Now back to the rest of your episode.
Oh man, that's amazing. I love that story. So from there all the way to a regional director, there's a lot of steps in between, right?
Definitely.
What roles have you held in the church, Dany?
Yeah, like you said, the first time I entered in the Church of the Nazarene, just to put things in context, there was one Church of the Nazarene in those days in the whole country. And it happens that the house where I was living was very close to where the church was. And it was a house, in fact, and there was a room that was used as church. So,
right.
And the first time I entered in the Church of the Nazarene, it was on a Friday at 1 p.m. That's important because that's the time when Muslims pray. And that's the time when I entered for the first time in a Church of the Nazarene. It was at a prayer time. So when I came and I just realized that they had the same faith that I had. And from that, I started to share. And the pastor was a lay pastor from Cape Verde, opened his house for me. And 3 months later, I was baptized. 6 months later, I started to preach and teach. And then 2 years later, I was asked to lead the church because all of those, the pastor was gone back to his country. And then I started to preach in the church. And because of my knowledge of English and French, I started to serve in the church, in the region, in literature, translation, and then in the global church in interpretation. And then one day, I think at that time it was Dr. Chambo. He called me and asked me if I was interested in serving as a field strategy coordinator for West Africa.
Right.
And then after that, then God opens doors for me to be where I am today, serving as a regional director. I just thank God because I'm just doing what I love, serving the Lord wherever He calls me.
I mean, I think that's so important for people to hear. I've got a different story and background to you, but really in many ways, my history in the Church of the Nazarenes, like you, that God led, God opened doors, the church asked, and we simply said yes.
Yep.
And often that is the path of obedience and discipleship, that Jesus leads us, and we say yes to the next steps. And that next step has led you to where you are. And we're so glad that you're in the role that you're in. Africa's an enormous continent and so varied in so many cultures, geography. How do you lead something as diverse and as big as that, Dany?
Yeah. I usually say there is not one Africa. There are Africas.
Okay.
There are Africas, in fact, because Africa is, as you said, is diverse. Africa is fast growing. Africa is just amazing in terms of variety, in terms of, you go from north to south, you have people from different shades of color scheme, and so, and also the music, everything, the food. It's just I'm living now in a city like Abidjan. It's like 6 million people in this city.
Wow.
So so it's just so that's the people. Sometimes they think Africa is just one. Africa is just used. So serving in this continent, you cannot do it without definitely a team. And you cannot do it first without knowing that God is calling you to serve Him, because it can be very challenging, but it's so rewarding. So how we serve, I think it's just praying, asking God, what are you? Because I believe that wherever we go, God is already there before us.
Mm.
There's nowhere we go where we are the pioneers. I mean, I don't think we are pioneers. God is the pioneer. We are the ones supporting and coming and starting. So, and before us, I'm so thankful also, by the way, for all the missionaries who have come before us, who have prepared,
Yeah.
the way for us who are here today. But today, what I see is that those missionaries who have worked, God is now raising Africans who are not taking missions into their hands. And that's what is exciting. That's
Yeah.
what I see.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I often say that we can make a huge mistake in the Church of the Nazarene to see that the USA is the mother church and the rest of the world are franchises of kind of like Starbucks, and you go in, you get the same kind of coffee, they send it from HQ, and we do the same thing. But of course, that's not the case at all. The reality is this is a global church, and my prayer is to see an authentic indigenous church in every place of the world. And we thank God for the people who went ahead of us. And right now I can almost see that kind of missional reverse where I could see Africans all over the world as missionaries, and Indians and Europeans and Americans and South Americans and whatever. And I think that's what God is doing right now. The world is really, in some ways, becoming like a great big village, and the cultures are amazing. But the one constant is that Jesus is Lord.
Amen.
And
Amen.
how do you see the lordship of Christ, Dany, across the Africas as you explain it? What is Jesus doing that you can encourage the church on?
Yeah, I mean, there is that translation of when in John when he said that he became, he came among and live among us, and the message translated like he's walking, in the streets, and I like that image. Is like Jesus is walking in the streets of Africa, in the villages, in the places where there is war, in the places where there is peace, in the places where there is creativity. I see that. I see Jesus having so many shapes, so many shapes. And today I heard a story of one of the most difficult places in this continent for living your faith, of like Jesus like touching one young girl who is from like an extremist group, but how the love of local believers who are persecuted, but their love, their support for that orphan girl, pushed her when she received the highest grade in her school, thanks to the support she had from that group. She thanked them openly and asked them, "Why are you doing this?" And their response was not something that anyone can create. They just said, "Because of the one who loves you," without you knowing that that one loves you. And they asked her, "Do you know that you have a father who loves you?" So for me that touches me, because for me, all those who don't believe I don't think that they don't believe. I think that they just don't know that they have a father who loves them. I don't like that term of like unbelievers or pagans. I think it's just people who don't know that there is a father who loves them.
Yeah.
So that what I see is the church understanding that in Africa, that we are not better than anyone. God just saved us by grace, and he's just telling us now go and tell them that they have a father, just like you found out that there is a father. And that's what I see in Madagascar, from Madagascar to Tanzania, to Ethiopia, even the places where we think that God is not there. That's where God is even more there, because that's where he's working more powerfully. And you're right, we are a diverse church. That's what makes our uniqueness. The church started somewhere. It's like a family name starts somewhere. We say in my language that family names, you can find them in many places, but they started from somewhere. Yeah, so they started somewhere, but it doesn't mean that they only belong to that place. So for me, that's the way I understand that there is no such a thing as an American church or an African church or a European church. There is a church of Jesus, and just taking shape in Chicago, taking shape in Nairobi, taking shape in, you know, uh, uh, Rome. So that's the beauty of our faith.
That's wonderful. I love that. And
Mm,
we believe in this thing called prevenient grace. And my simple understanding of that is that for every person anywhere in the world, in every time in history, God is with them, calling them to Him somehow. Uh, so we don't go and do mission to people. We join
mm,
in God's mission, the
mm,
Missio Deo, where God is leading the world to Himself as their Father to break the orphan spirit and make them daughters and sons. And that's
mm.
what Jesus came, wasn't it? To reveal
Yes.
the fatherhood of the Father that He knew. And he got so annoyed with the religious leaders because they were misrepresenting his father. And when you
Yeah.
think of that, if somebody says something bad of your dad, that's going to really annoy you. And when you see Jesus clearing the temple, he's saying, "This is my father's house." And so I love that story. Dany, we had the great privilege in February of being in Johannesburg, where you opened the first ever general board of the Church of the Nazarene in Africa. And
Right.
that was a historic time. It's an amazing
Oh, wow.
week together. How
Oh,
did you
wow.
feel that was significant to the church globally?
Mm. I felt now even you are speaking about it, but I sense the presence of the Holy Spirit even now that we are speaking because what you were just saying. Uh, for me, it was like I was grateful,
Hmm.
grateful, uh, because it's that's what missions is really about. It's like wherever we go, we are home.
Right.
We are home because that's the kingdom. So for me, that was an expression of God's kingdom. Hospitality is so huge in Africa.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go in Africa, hospitality is important. So I was so blessed that we could host, you know, the church, the global church, to host them. And I saw how the team there in Africa, they were so committed, they were so focused. And I didn't do much. Yeah, but what I saw was also the collaboration between the office of the Global Ministry Center, the general secretary team, the team in Africa, how they worked together. It was just beautiful. And for me, that was a confirmation of this is the church. We are together.
Yes.
We are together, and that's one of our key words. We are together. Tuko pamoja. We are together. So for me, that's what I saw that when we were there.
And we all had a Sunday experience at different
Mm,
churches
mm, mm. Yeah.
around Johannesburg, and it was one of the most memorable days. And you were right when you said earlier, about the worship and the music. Now I love music and I love worship, and it was great to see white people, black people, brown people, Mesoamericans, South Americans, Europeans, Americans all together. And it was great. And just seeing people together in Jesus. I think that's what the Nazarene Church actually is about. It's that kind of global family. But of course, we have a new generation coming through. We have a next generation. You know well, and I've spoken about the cause many times and these videos about raising up a generation. What do you see in Africa coming from the next generation?
Oh yeah. In fact, my last trip was in Cape Verde, and it's very symbolic because Cape Verde in Africa is where the Church of the Nazarene started in Africa. It's in Cape Verde, in the island of Brava, where it's our former, I mean, now retired GS Dr. Duarte, he's from. So I traveled to Cape Verde, and and you would think the church has been there more than 120 something years.
Yep.
So you would think, that's established, and you would think that that's the post kind of Pentecost. But that's where I saw the strength of the churches in Cape Verde is the the people.
Right.
the people, the church members. I don't want to use the term laity because I don't think that's the right term, but I can use it here, the laity. But when I saw a young man after we had a service coming to me, and he's a musician, and say, you know, I have my business, and I play music at church, but my wife and I, we have a call to serve.
Mm-hmm.
We have a call to serve, and we want to know where we can serve. We want to serve, and we have a heart of going on the continent, and serving, and so, but I saw in his eyes, it was genuine. It was, you saw that passion, and the same passion I saw in many places where I go. The young people, they will come, and sometimes they will tell you, I'm already going here, I'm already doing this, so they're not waiting for the church. They are going because they are following the flow of the Holy Spirit. And that's why, for me, the cause is in fact like a response to God's prevenient grace.
Right.
God is already moving. God is always on the move. So we just join him. We cannot go before him.
Yeah.
We cannot be more creative. We cannot be anything than God. But we can be in tune with him, so that then we can discern, okay, this is what it means here. So yeah, so it's just amazing to see that God is moving, God is calling, and is the same God. He didn't change. He didn't change. When you talked about the prevenient grace,
Yep.
for me, I love that concept of prevenient grace. And I think we need to speak more about it. So I love the fact that you talked about it. And there is a quote that I really like. Michael Gohin, who is a missiologist, I think he's American. He said this. He said the missionary is more like a treasure hunter than a pearl merchant.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl merchants have something to give, whereas treasure hunters come empty-handed,
Yeah.
looking for the treasure already present
Yeah.
in various cultures of the world.
Oh,
That's powerful, right?
that's very powerful.
Right. So empty-handed. Wherever we go, we need to know that we are coming to learn. We
Yeah.
are coming as guests.
Yes.
In every culture, we are coming as guests. And when we come as guests, then the host can know how to welcome us and to teach us and to share with us, and we can share. So that's really, I hope that spirit, it can also be in our new generation of missionaries, that spirit of the guest.
Wonderful. I love that, Dany. Thank you. I always appreciate when I talk to you, Dany, because you're so well read, and you have these amazing quotes and proverbs and African sayings that I really love. That I think is part of who you are, and part of that leadership that God has given you. So thank you for this time together, and thank you for sharing with us. And for those who are watching, this is just another little insight on what the global church looks like. We're just normal people being given a call by Jesus, and we're following it with all our heart. And if you're in the Church of Nazarene locally, this is your church, and we're your family, and we're a global family with a local heart, and we're a local family with a global heart. And that's what it means to be Nazarene. So thanks, Brother Dany. And
Thank you.
well,
Thank you,
see you
Jim.
next time.
Thank you, brother. Love
Bye-bye.
you. God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Holiness Today podcast. If you enjoyed this production and wish to hear more, visit holinesstoday.org/podcast or find us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.